Taking your team off-site for a couple of days of planning is a huge investment. In this case, time is literally money. Don't blow it by using the wrong approach. The planning process should be tailored to your current needs. Do you need a tune-up, an overhaul, or an arbitration? Stay tuned to learn more. Now, whether your planning process is run by someone on the inside or you bring in an outside expert to guide you through it, what matters up front is that you separate your ends from your means. Your ends for all planning are largely going to be the same. The means, how you get there, should be specific to your context. So let's start with the end in mind. All good planning processes end up with three basic deliverables: a map, a cookbook, and a scorecard. The map shows the destination and your intended route to get there. The cookbook has a list of tasks and times that you're going to use to get there. And the scorecard shows how you're going to track your progress and what success looks like once you get there. The map, the cookbook, and the scorecard. All planning should result in those three things. So while the ends may be the same, the means used to get there should be entirely dependent on the current needs of the business. Here's 4 examples. The tune-up, the annual refocus and move on. The overhaul, new information's come to light and we've got to pivot the whole organization. The arbitration, we've got warring camps who don't agree with each other. Or pre-launch planning. All of those are very distinct planning processes, but all of them will still end up with a map, a cookbook, and a scorecard. The tune-up. This is typically part of your annual planning process. It's going to take just a few days, probably a couple days of meetings and a few days of work around it, and you should be able to do it with information on hand. The team involved should be your entire senior management team, and in your planning cycle, it should be done before you do budgeting. The budget should reflect the priorities that come out of the plan. The overhaul. Now this can be done as part of the annual planning process, but it can also be an ad hoc response to information that comes to light. You've got a new competitor, a new technology has been released, or something you've been doing for a long time just stopped working. The all-hands-on-deck nature of this kind of problem means you're both going to have senior people and line people involved in the planning process. Your first step is to have a clear diagnosis of what happened. That's going to take some time and some digging. Then, what you're going to want to do is design an ideal future state for the business based on the current information. And then you're going to bridge those two. Here's where we were, the diagnosis. Here's where we want to be. How do we start moving in that direction? That's the overhaul plan that will pivot an organization into a new direction. The arbitration. This can be much more ad hoc, but sometimes you just got to stop and resolve differences between people on your team. You should involve the whole team, not just the people who are disagreeing, because everyone needs to rally around the consensus for the business to move forward effectively. These are going to take anywhere from 3 to 12 weeks, and the process you're going to go through is to develop some testable hypotheses based on the opinions that people have, run those tests, and then start to make decisions based on facts that come out of the tests as opposed to opinions. That's the most effective way to get the team to move forward. Pre-launch planning. Before you take on any big new project, you should step back and take the time to answer the core questions about who our customers are, who our competitors are, and what we're going to do that's going to win in that context. With that in hand, you can convince senior managers or investors that you know what the hell you're talking about, and it becomes the map, the cookbook, and the scorecard for your team as you start to move through the process. So these are just 4 examples of very different planning processes based on different needs. In all 4 situations, you still end up with a map, a cookbook, and a scorecard, but how you get there is very different. Now, to the question of whether you should bring in an outside consultant to help you through the process, generally, I'm in favor of this. That person sits outside the formal and informal power and social structures in your organization, and they have no preconceived notions about how things should and shouldn't work. What that means is they can push your team through the process to think more deeply about the issues. Now, I've written a handy blog post based on my experience as a CEO and as an outside facilitator on how to pick a good facilitator for your process. If you don't know where you're going, you'll get there. Or, in the immortal words of Buckaroo Banzai, no matter where you go, there you are. All managers have to do planning. Getting the right outcome means using the right approach as you move through it. Take time to assess your needs and learn which approach will work best for you. The bigger your planning toolbox, the better a manager you will be. Thanks for watching today. If you're planning on listening to more, subscribe. And if you've got a question, stick it in the comments and I'll address it in a future video. Thanks.